Welcome back, everyone. Today I'm out exploring more abandoned railroad locations, not on the Pittsburg and Shawmut this time. I'm actually walking what would have been the Piney Branch, which was built in, I believe, the early 1900s. Some sources say it was built for the Franklin and Clearfield Railroad. As far as I'm aware, it's always been New York Central, but at one point the line was acquired by Conrail, which they ran it until, I believe, the 80s, when there began to be a downturn in coal. Conrail looked to sell off the branches which weren't generating enough, so they ended up selling this line to the Pittsburg and Shawmut, which led to the creation of the Mountain Laurel Railroad. And I believe they operated the Piney Branch clear up into the early 2000s, up until Genesee and Wyoming acquired the Shawmut, of which they acquired both the Mountain Laurel and the Red Bank Railroad. And of course, all that was absorbed into Buffalo and Pittsburgh by 2004. But I believe removal of the tracks here was in the early 2000s. I know the viaducts on this branch were removed around 2008. And, you know, I'm pretty sure the tracks were taken up before that. So at the moment, I'm walking to the second Clarion Tunnel. Apparently a lot of people must not know about it, because I've seen there's numerous videos and photos online of tunnel number 1, but not a lot of tunnel number 2. And I think some of that's just due to the location. It's not exactly the easiest to access. You can access tunnel number 2 by walking through the first tunnel and then walking over the trestle. However, the wood ties on that trestle are getting pretty bad, so to try to walk across that, you basically have to walk on the large I-beam, which, you know, that's a bit risky. Or you basically do what I do and take the mile-long walk to get down here. But, you know, that's still a bit of a hike as well. I guess another thing that makes this tunnel somewhat inaccessible is nearby property owners do not want people walking back this right away. And based on my research, I have found that the Pennsylvania Game Commission actually owns this. They bought it from the railroad. I'm assuming Buffalo and Pittsburgh. But yeah, and I think there are several state game lands in the area, so the Game Commission does own a bit of property around here. And, you know, in situations like that, I think this is basically fair game. So walking out of the curve, I can just see the tunnel up ahead. And I'll be honest with you, it's a little unsettling for me because you actually can't see through this anymore. Apparently it experienced a major collapse and it's completely blocked off now. But get up here a little closer. I know it's flooded, and when I say flooded, I mean really flooded. But yeah, I'm curious what all we find when we get up here. Well, there it is, the western entrance of Clarion Tunnel number 2. Yeah, as you can see, the tunnel face is basically collapsed, which that's what all that rubble is right there. And because of that, it's basically created a dam, which has caused all the water to pool up inside. And I'll see about getting up here and see if I can look inside and see anything. Just walking up here and looking at this, check out that brickwork. Behind that, there is basically a layer of timbers. And yeah, you can see how that's failed. But geez, this tunnel is massive. I know for a fact that all the tunnels and trestles along the Piney Branch, well, even the right-of-way itself, were actually designed to be double track. However, only one track was ever laid. Looking back in there, I can't see anything at the moment. I'm going to try to shine a light back through there, see if I can see anything. Alright, I got the camera mounted on the tripod, and unfortunately the light I brought with me isn't strong enough to illuminate back there. So what I'm going to attempt to do is use the night sight on my phone to see if I can get a better look at that. I can definitely see it with the naked eye, but you know, this might do a pretty decent job as well. All right. And see what we got here. Oh, wow, yeah. I'll actually throw this up in the video, but yeah, you can see that collapse. It goes clear up to the roof. That is some serious structural failure. I decided to mount my phone on the tripod when I took the picture, and as you can see here, it's a far better shot. It, you know, definitely shows pretty much everything you need to see. Yeah, definitely not going to be getting through there anytime soon. Combined with the fact you can't see straight through this tunnel and that it's flooded, you know, I'm definitely getting the same vibes here that I'd get anytime I'd go to the colder tunnel along the Pittsburg and Shawmut line. And that tunnel, while not collapsed, it's curved at the one end, so you can't see through it. But the south entrance is also flooded. And, you know, anytime I look at this, I'm just thinking to myself, it's like, what the hell is back there in the darkness? What is lurking in this water? What am I not seeing? But I don't know, maybe that's just me worrying too much. Definitely got some iron in the water. You can tell that by the red tinge and the fact that it's basically stained the wall there. But I'd say if we had more rain recently, you'd have a good stream of water basically flowing out through this trench and going down that way, probably eventually emptying into Deer Creek. I'm kind of curious, so I'm going to throw a rock. Yep, definitely stirring up the iron in the water. This is just looking at things from the other side, which really it's not that much different. And, you know, unfortunately, I'm going to say at some point more of this is actually going to fail. I don't know how this compares to what it was, I'll say 5 years ago, other than the collapse. But, you know, I could definitely see more of this tunnel face coming down. In fact, I think we're more, you know, the archway coming down. The tunnel face is, I think, pretty much gone at this point. Another thing that's a bit weird is there's some guy back there yelling at me. If you listen closely, you might be able to hear him. Hey, you! Yeah, you! Go to hell! I don't know if I mentioned this earlier or not, but one of the guys at the Clarion Model Railroad Club was telling me that apparently tunnel number 1, I'm not sure about tunnel number 2, but I know tunnel number 1 was being used to store hopper cars in the early 2000s. I'm thinking 2001, but I'm assuming it wasn't long after that that, you know, they quit using this line altogether, and I'd say sometime roughly between 2005 and 2008 the tracks were removed. I'll be honest, I was a little intimidated with this tunnel when I first walked up to it, just because, you know, you're kind of staring into the unknown basically. The water's probably what bothers me the most because, you know, you don't know what's lurking in that. But yeah, the more I look at this, the more I'm just kind of mesmerized by it. It's definitely a shame to see it in this state. And I have seen some people have said that in terms of the collapse, they believe it occurred sometime between March and April of 2023. I know my friend Greg, some of you might know him as Who Productions here on YouTube. He was here back in 2021, and you can still see through to the other side. But unfortunately, it's one of those deals with all this water basically damming up in here. And I think even the drains have failed. That's basically what you have right there. That's a tunnel drain, which has failed, I guess. Basically, that has allowed water to accumulate back behind there, and, you know, that's basically what led to the collapse. I guess really there's not a whole lot else to see here. Obviously, I'm not going to go kayaking in this thing. But I quite enjoyed coming back here, taking a look at it. You know, it is rather intriguing, I guess, in this state. But like I said, it's kind of a shame to see an old structure like this in such disrepair. But, you know, obviously it's been abandoned for how long? And as I said before, there will probably become a point where all this will just fall in on itself and, you know, it'll be no more. Well, I think this is where I'm going to end the video, and while I'm doing that, I'll let you guys stare back into the darkness. But I have to say that I really enjoyed checking out this tunnel. It's rather interesting in this state of decay, and as I said before, I dare say that as time goes on, there's eventually going to be more structural failure to the point where everything just falls in on itself, and that's end of story, basically. But anyways, that's where I'm going to call it quits. I want to thank everyone for watching. Feel free to leave a like and comment down below. Definitely helps the algorithm not hate my channel. But until then, I'll catch you guys on the flip side.